Well, one of the problems about dealing with standards in the United States, and probably this is true internationally as well, but for sure it's true in the United States, there are 50 different content standards, actually 51. All the states have their own standards for what it is a student should know. If you think about it for a second, big history learning outcomes are very much like big history itself. It demands that you integrate multiple types of disciplines, multiple types of questions. Big history is asking kids to use knowledge that comes from almost all the domains and disciplines, so that it requires kids to understand things like gravity and the Industrial Revolution, to understand things like cell formation and the outcomes of World War I and World War II. It forces the integration of concepts across the subject areas. Because big history uses the disciplines, the variety of organized ways that human beings have invented to frame problems, to collect evidence, to warrant, make conclusions, and then to assess and analyze other people's conclusions. This is one of the few courses, and maybe one of the only courses, that people will use the things that they've studied in other subject matters. So, for example, one has to be familiar with how scientists organize information. How does a scientist ask a question? How do they frame problems? How are they using evidence? What constitutes the different kinds of evidence, and how do they make claims and support those claims? What makes them search for new solutions to the problems? Same thing with history. The same thing with geography. Now, this is going to require students to read and write across all the different kinds of domains. So students studying big history, big historians, are forced to read science. They're forced to read history. They're forced to read maps. They're forced to read data charts. They're forced to look at chemical reactions. They're forced to look at models. Now, those kinds of things require a different kind of literacy. Not just simply using that information to spit it back on a test, but actually using that information to analyze events, to interpret things, so that kids become thinkers that enable them to use the big history concepts.